A lot of special forces units, they'll try and mirror, the SAS and same as Delta and everything else. Bear in mind that SAS SBS are tier one, absolute tier one operators, the same as Delta and SEAL Team 6. Not SEAL Teams, SEAL Team 6. So that's their tier one organisation. The reason I'm not a big fan of SEAL Team 6 and SEAL teams in general is they're matlows, they're Navy, first and foremost. And when the shit hits the fan, it's generally your background that will help you to get you out of trouble. And if you've got a hardcore, parachute regiment, commando, infantry type background, before you do the nice little sexy stuff of putting black kit on and jumping through windows, that's going to help you in the long term. If you're just a matlow Navy person who then goes off and does all the sexy stuff, when the shit hits the fan, they just don't have that background knowledge, if that makes sense, or that hardcore mentality and everything else that goes with it, So I put Delta way ahead of any of the SEAL teams, including SEAL Team 6, because they're like the SAS, they're ex-paratroopers, they're ex-Greenberry, they're ex-Rangers, they're hardcore individuals before they even think about, doing all the sexy stuff
We spoke to quite a few Delta guys, and they, especially Afghanistan and Iraq, and there seems to be some overlap of people. Did you ever get to work with the Delta guys at all? Or?
No, I got out in 2000 before all the good stuff came in. But we did a stint with Delta over in America, and it was me, two other lads from D Squadron went out there and worked with B Squadron from Delta, good lads. So we flew into Fort Bragg, and we were there literally one day. Had to zero weapons, drag a load of kit, and we were there really to help them understand Arctic warfare. But instead of flying to Norway, Arctic, they flew us to Wyoming, near Jackson Hole. The coldest that gets there is about -1, so not really Arctic conditions. They didn't really put their heart and soul into it, I suppose. We suggested doing a biathlon. 20 kilometre ski, and then every 5 kilometres, shoot some targets. So their interpretation of that was a 1 kilometre ski and fire your weapon. But they were using dot sights, red dot sights. So, you didn't even have to aim. Something like that. Not quite what we, they had we then did a little exercise, a 3-day exercise it was. And the first night was, they classed as a non-tactical night. So they had a big fire going in the middle of like a big ginganguli, to be honest, mate. You know what I mean? And the second night was the tactical night, and so we sort of skied in there, and they've got a fire going. We were like that. Hold on, the fire was last night. It's tactical. They went, mate, smaller fire. Oh, okay. and it was that, So great bunch of blokes, fantastic equipment and everything else. Good people to work for. Purely because they're the same ilk. They're ex-paratroopers, they're ex-rangers, they're ex-commando forces, all that sort of stuff. They're just hardcore individuals, and good sense of humour. But completely outstripped the SAS with their equipment. Their equipment was way ahead. And when we were leaving, the CO at the time, the commanding officer of Delta, came in as we were handing our kit in, and we basically flew from Wyoming into Fort Bragg, and then we were due to get a flight, Fort Bragg straight down to Washington, and then we were going to be flying out. So a real quick turnaround. The CEO came in and started having a chat with the three of us and said, "Oh, you know, how's it going?" I said, yeah, it's great. Just a shame that, you know, we've now got to rush off, like, you know, and, you know, it would have been nice to socialise with and he went, "Not a problem." Pulled out his sat phone, phoned the adjutant up and said, "Listen, I've got your three guys here. They're due to fly in tonight. Bit of a problem with the aircraft. When do you want to go back?" And we're like that. "Tuesday." "They'll be back on Tuesday." Put the phone down and then sent us down to get a load of money. Gave us a car, because Sport Bragg's massive. Gave us a car, hotel. Well, like that, hold on. Brilliant. And it was just a nice way of, because it was all rushed. When we flew into Wyoming, it was full on 3 weeks, you know, no time to really socialise, have a few drinks. And then when we flew out, you know, it was, I think Friday or something like that. It would have been nice to have, so he made it all possible, like, you know. But, right, so we're handing all the kit in. So again, you know, how do you, so flipping hell, some of this equipment, we haven't got any of this. And he went, "Just keep it." We were like that. Really? Kept everything, boots, a lot, like, you know, just, you know.
Just a quick pause from the episode for a short but important message from our sponsors, Element. If you're feeling flat lately, low energy, brain fog, struggling to focus, there's a good chance it's not a lack of motivation and it's not caffeine either. It's hydration, or more specifically, lack of electrolytes. But water on its own actually doesn't hydrate you properly unless your body has the electrolytes it needs to absorb it. That's why we use Element. Element just dropped their 12-ounce sparkling cans, and I've been drinking these things non-stop. They're so convenient. I don't just drink them around workouts. I'll drink them whilst I'm on the go, if I'm at work, or if I need them when I'm in a pinch. And they have flavors like black cherry salt, orange salt, lemonade salt, and pineapple salt. All of them have a solid dose of electrolytes that help keep your focus and energy where it should be. If you don't believe me on how much we drink these things, this fridge looks like we've got tons of cans in there. They're all empty because we pretty much drank them all. It's trusted by everyone from elite athletes to military units to doctors and professionals, which says a lot. Element backs it as well. They offer a no questions asked refund. So if you don't like it, you get your money back. And if you live in the US, you get added bonus of getting free shipping. For a limited time, our viewers are getting free sample packs with your first order by heading to drinkelement.com/Mulligan or go to link in the description. Once again, that's drinkelement.com/Mulligan or go to link in the description or the pinned comment and get your free sample pack today. Try it, see how you feel, and then decide. Let's get back to the episode.
Did you get an opportunity to spend enough time with these guys to find out if they understood the British humour, banter? Like, was there a connection over that kind of thing? Did you manage?
No, they haven't got the same banter. They haven't got the same humour. Although they have their, you know, their banter, their humour, which is slightly different. I personally, I think British humour outstrips anyone, especially British military. You know, because we'll laugh and joke at anything. You know, even during a firefight, and even if someone gets hurt, you know, you're making a bit of a joke. You know, just keep your sense of humour going, like, you know, fucking hell, mate. But it's just the way the Brits are, and they're good at it. And the day you lose your sense of humour, especially in a tight situation, is probably the day you want to be hanging your boots up, like, you know, because it's that humour that'll generally get you out of a situation, like, you know.
You said that your son's just retired from Special Forces, right? I'm just curious, is like, have you managed to have a conversation with him about like what the difference is between warfare now and what it was back when you was?
Yeah, we have, and it's good actually, because Kieran's quite strong-minded and very savvy. It's bizarre because he's got one of the worst forms of dyslexia, but really clever individual, very street savvy and everything else. But he is in a different world, security, to what we do, because he's in the canine industry, and we can. So we tend to support him. He got invited back to his old military unit, which was over in near Mountain Mowbray, and he was setting up, and it's his first time actually that he'd set his thing up. So, you know, me and the dogs are here, and I thought, yeah, we'll just go over and visit him, like, you know. So it was nice to sort of turn up, and he's got a friendly face, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's got about 20 of his mates there, and poor old Dag's, you know, I'm a spare fart, like, you know, so I'll see you later, mate. And I then drove back. He went all the way up to Glasgow, BBC Glasgow, to pick up an award for Hero Paws. So Hero Paw said to Kieran, you know, can you go up pick the award up, like, you know, and you know, posh, he gets dressed up and that lot. Took his blind dog up with him, but he asked me, fancy coming up, like, you know, so yeah, went all the way up there, you know, and stayed in a hotel, and, you know, just being with him and just support him. But we do that with all the kids, you know, my daughter, for instance, who helps me do a lot of the training at the moment. She works with my ex-wife in a place called Kiki's in Hereford, but there's a lot more to Keeley than there is serving coffee and stuff, because she's of the same ilk as her brothers. You know, she walked up Ben Nevis at the age of 7, set climbing ropes up, and tested them at the age of 9, like jumping off, and you know, and this is 4 separate ropes. The person that oversaw her fitting the ropes up was the middle boy, and I just looked at him and went, everything okay? He went, Dad, everything's okay. Keely, because she'd already run down there, you know, ready to, and I was like that, Keely, get yourself back up here. Came running back out and went, you forgot the important thing. Whoever sets these up, you've got to go and test them. So we made her do it, you know, jumped off all 4 ropes and, you know, tested it, like, you know. Yeah, all good to go at the age of 9. Wow. So she's quite a hardcore individual, but she's a girly. Thankfully, she doesn't look like me. She looks more like my ex-wife. And she's taught by good people: Ginge Johnson, Lofty Wiseman, Alan White, that ilk of people who have got a massive amount of experience. They've sort of taken Kelly under a wing as such, and Ginge especially. What Ginge will do is, if he knows that we're off doing some training with people, he'll get hold of Keely on the Monday before, and take her through, you know, 2 or 3 hours of conflict management, restraint training, or all the breakaway stuff that we teach to kids. And a thing called Plan B, which is, you know, if that breakaway doesn't work, you know, here's how to dislocate a jaw pretty sharpish and all that sort of thing. So it's great. Obviously, when you're teaching kids, we only teach breakaway, because if you teach people a bit more, you know, Plan B, you create monsters. Because kids, as soon as you've taught kids about, they're straight out into that you know, into the you know, the play yard, and they're practicing. So the breakaway is really good because it's all body mechanics, and it's all geared. You know, we don't teach self-defense. You know, there are really good organisations out there that can teach that. Ours is more about using your brain, situational awareness, keep you out of trouble, spot it, see it, avoid it, and only if somebody tries to grab you, here's how to, you know, break that away, like, you know. So yeah, it works really well. So yeah, good. I'm lucky that, you know, I've got fantastic kids, mate.